Welcome to Nuance Art, your go-to channel for stunning home design and interior inspirations. In today's festive episode, we're diving deep into the charming Christmas style of Joanna Gaines, the beloved design icon behind Magnolia. Whether you're a fan of the fixer-upper look or simply love rustic farmhouse charm, this holiday season is the perfect time to infuse your home with cozy textures, vintage touches, and natural elegance. Joanna's approach to Christmas is more than just decor. It's about creating meaningful spaces that reflect warmth, simplicity, and joy. So grab a cup of cocoa, snuggle up, and get inspired with our curated look at Magnolia-style holiday decorating. And before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe to Nuance Art for more home design ideas every week. Like this video if you love farmhouse style, and let us know your favorite Joanna Gaines Christmas tip in the comments below. Joanna Gaines is all about starting with the natural beauty of the season. Her Christmas decor often begins with simple, organic materials like fresh greenery, pine cones, wooden beads, and linen ribbons. These elements create a rustic yet refined base that feels inviting and authentic. To achieve this Magnolia-inspired look, begin by incorporating eucalyptus garlands, cedar sprigs, or a fresh-cut wreath. Mix them with hand-carved wooden ornaments or driftwood centerpieces to add earthy contrast. The idea is to embrace imperfections. Think asymmetrical greenery, frayed edges on ribbon, and vintage patinus. Joanna often layers textures as well. Burlap table runners, wool throws, and knit stockings all work together to create that tactile farmhouse charm. You don't need a perfectly polished look. In fact, the beauty lies in the understated and homemade feel. These natural elements create a cozy foundation that lets other festive pieces shine. forget the typical red and green overload. Joanna's Christmas color scheme leans into neutral tones with intentional accents. Whites, creams, taupes, and soft grays provide a serene backdrop, allowing carefully placed colors like deep evergreen, cranberry red, or metallic gold to make a refined statement. This subdued palette reflects the Magnolia aesthetic, which values harmony, balance, and a hint of rustic luxury. Consider wrapping gifts in craft paper with ivory string or placing hand-lettered name tags for a personalized touch. If you're decorating a tree, opt for white lights, wooden ornaments, and just a few colored baubles to keep the look elegant. Don't forget texture. Combine matte and shiny finishes for visual interest. Joanna's use of color isn't flashy. It's intentional, cozy, and calm, creating a peaceful, grounded space for the holidays. The Christmas tree is often the star of the show, and Joanna's trees are always thoughtfully styled. Her go-to look? A tree that's both classic and organic, blending subtle glimmer with handmade touches. She avoids overcrowding and instead chooses intentional ornaments, like clear glass bulbs, knit stars, and vintage metal pieces. Layered textures are key. Think macramé garlands, wooden beads, and white snowflake ornaments. And while Joanna does love twinkle lights, she typically opts for warm white or soft amber tones, steering away from anything too bright or blinking. The goal is to create a tree that feels lived in and personal, not overly staged. If you have kids, don't hesitate to hang homemade ornaments or heirlooms. That's part of the charm. And don't forget the base. Wrap it in a chunky knit tree skirt or a vintage basket for that extra farmhouse touch. One of the most overlooked but impactful design strategies Joanna uses is creating cozy holiday corners throughout the home. A simple stool with a lantern, a basket of pine cones by the fireplace, or a mini tree in a galvanized pot can turn any empty space into a seasonal nook. These vignettes tell a visual story and bring the holiday spirit to every corner, not just the living room. Use candles and antique holders, plaid throws on chairs, or vintage books stacked with greenery on top. Joanna often utilizes reclaimed wood shelves to display Christmas mugs, seasonal quotes and handwritten signs, or mini pine trees. This layered approach makes the home feel cohesive, yet lived in and welcoming. It's less about a perfect holiday look and more about curating moments that feel warm, inviting, and intentionally festive. The fireplace mantle is a staple in Magnolia holiday design. Joanna's mantles are never overdone. They strike a balance between minimalist and festive. Start with a lush garland of eucalyptus, cedar, or faux greenery, and drape it casually for a natural, cascading effect. Add in brass candlesticks, vintage bells, or wooden village houses for contrast. Stockings are often simple, linen or burlap with hand-stitched names or neutral embroidery. Joanna frequently uses layered frames or mirrors behind the garland, adding height and depth. If you want a Magnolia-approved mantle, avoid plastic or glitter-heavy decor. Instead, lean into handcrafted items, repurposed wood, and natural colors. This styling philosophy makes the mantle a focal point of warmth and nostalgia, perfect for curling up with a mug of cocoa or opening gifts on Christmas morning. Nothing brings people together like a beautiful holiday table, and Joanna Gaines knows exactly how to set the scene. Her Christmas table settings reflect rustic elegance. Wooden chargers, ceramic dishes, and vintage flatware are just the beginning. Start with a neutral linen tablecloth or runner, then layer with natural centerpieces. Mason jars filled with sprigs, pillar candles in reclaimed holders, and garlands down the center. Napkins are often tied with twine and greenery or tucked into small wooden bowls. You can even use handwritten name cards clipped to mini wreaths for that personal magnolia touch. Joanna often mixes old with new, blending antique finds with modern farmhouse pieces to tell a story of timeless comfort. It's about making the space feel thoughtful, intimate, and joyful, everything a holiday meal should be. Joanna's approach to Christmas is full of handmade details. She believes that creating your own decorations adds meaning to your home, and she often shares simple DIYs that anyone can try. From dried orange slice garlands to homemade soy candles and handwritten chalkboard signs, these little projects infuse the home with heart. Consider crafting your own advent calendar from envelopes and string, or make clay ornaments with cookie cutters and stamps. Not only are these budget-friendly, but they also make great family activities. Joanna's style encourages imperfection. Nothing needs to be flawless to be beautiful. In fact, it's these personal touches that give your home that Magnolia-style authenticity. So grab some twine, a hot glue gun, and your favorite holiday tunes. It's time to make Christmas truly yours. Joanna understands that home design isn't just visual, it's an experience, and scent plays a huge role. For the holidays, she layers her home with the aroma of cinnamon, pine, orange, and clove. You'll often find stovetop potpourri simmering in her kitchen or a magnolia holiday candle burning in the entryway. Try combining slices of citrus with cinnamon sticks, star anise, and rosemary in a pot of water to create your own signature holiday scent. She also recommends using essential oil diffusers in rooms where candles aren't ideal, such as kids' bedrooms or bathrooms. The goal is to make guests feel something the moment they walk through the door. When sight, touch, and smell all work together, the result is a home that's not only beautiful, but emotionally memorable. Exactly what the holidays should be. As we wrap up today's festive journey, remember this: Joanna Gaines Christmas style isn't just about how your home looks, it's about how it feels. It's cozy, warm, meaningful, and full of heart. From natural elements and handmade details to warm lighting and personalized touches, her Magnolia approach invites us to slow down and savor the season. Whether you live in a country cottage or a city apartment, you can bring that rustic farmhouse magic into your home. Thank you for joining us at Nuansa Art for this special holiday episode. If you found inspiration today, please subscribe to our channel for more interior design ideas every week. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below telling us how you're decorating your home this Christmas. Until next time, stay cozy, stay creative, and have a beautifully Magnolia-inspired holiday.